Hello, and welcome to another episode of Coach Chrysler's Convos. I am here with Dr. Carrie. Hello.
Oh my goodness. Hello. I'm so excited to be on.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing with us. Before we get to your health journey, tell us who you are and where you're from and what you do.
Yes, I am Dr. Carrie Jones. I am a naturopathic doctor in the Pacific Northwest. I live in the Portland, Oregon area. And for pretty much my entire career, I've been in women's health and hormones, which plays
Mhm.
into my personal health journey. So I'm excited to talk and
Yeah.
talk with you.
Um, so, um, so tell us a little bit about kind of where you started, maybe what jumped off at the beginning for you that something was going on and you needed to kind of dig a little further into what was up.
So I was born in Michigan, and then I was raised in the South in Lexington, Kentucky, and I went to
Ooh.
college in the state of Ohio, and
Oh,
you
wow.
many years ago. And as you can imagine, functional, holistic, integrative did not exist then. And really there in that area, it doesn't really exist now. And I
Yeah.
would tease my friends in college that I didn't know the word functional or holistic or integrative back then. But I was like, really, is all there is football and beer? Like, is that it? Is that all we have? And as much as I do love football, I thought I was considered not like the weirdo, but definitely more on
Mhm.
the holistic. I was really into food and I was really into nutrition and I exercised a lot. And so the most my friends knew at the time was you're going to open a spa. You're going to be the one that has a massage therapy spa. You're going to
Yeah.
have a wellness retreat because we didn't know any other options back then.
Right.
But I have known since I was a little kid that I wanted to be a doctor. And I thought I wanted to be either a pediatrician or an OBGYN who
Hmm.
delivered babies and then helped the mamas. And so I did all of my undergrad and everything thinking I was going to go this conventional route. And at the same time, just as females do, I got my sex ed, health ed education in middle school and high school from our football coach. So you can
Mm.
imagine in Lexington, Kentucky,
Yeah.
what the football coach taught us, which was not much. And so I didn't know a whole lot about what was normal, even though my mom was open about
Mhm.
health and periods and what to expect. And like, it wasn't shameful or there wasn't quiet or there wasn't something we couldn't talk about. But and we didn't have internet. I mean, we didn't have internet. We didn't have all of that
Yeah.
back then. So it was a lot of like asking friends and trying to figure it out. And I had really severe cramps, like severe cramps. And I remember my mom saying, I had the same thing. I've had super heavy periods. Like it runs in the family. Good luck.
Mm.
Let's do the best we can. And then as I got older, I started having menstrual migraines. That's when I literally turned 30. I started getting menstrual migraines,
Wow.
even though I was in the profession. So fast forward, I pivoted into naturopathic medicine. I went to naturopathic medical school and I really just kept into the female health gynecology hormones because I realized so many of my colleagues, friends, family were never taught the basics either. Like they knew how to make a baby. like they,
Mhm.
like
Right.
they knew their period was coming and that was about the biggest gist that they had. And I was
Mm.
obsessed with learning the physiology of hormones because as a female who wasn't taught very much, I wanted to know for me personally. And then it became just really a passion project of mine. So I went to school for it. I did my residency with a women's health and hormone residency position. I was there for 2 years. And then my practice focused predominantly in women's health and hormones. I worked
Mhm.
for 9 years as the medical director for a specialty hormone lab, international hormone lab, where I educated all over the world on hormones. And I still every day learn cool stuff about hormones. And so I joke all the time on social media or when I lecture, even having a history of a lot of education on hormones, even having a very long history as the medical director for a hormone lab, like I am not immune to hormone issues. I
Mhm.
still occasionally get a menstrual migraine. I don't get them nearly as much as I used to, but I
Mhm.
still occasionally get them. I still occasionally get really bad PMS where I want all the chocolate and I'm not in the mood, and
Yeah.
it happens to the best of us. I know why now. I don't know that that
Right.
makes it quite helpful, but I can logically float outside my body and go, okay, I know what's happening here, but that was my personal journey, was
Mhm.
being in the Midwest and the South with very little education and not a lot of exposure to true health, to realizing friends, colleagues, family, neighbors, etc., didn't, no matter where they were from, they really didn't get that education either. And it
Yeah.
just stuck with me.
Yeah. Wow. So, when you were talking about telling your mom and having that conversation with your mom about how uncomfortable you were in the heavy periods and things like that, and she said, well, I experienced that. Do you find that you hear that a lot from people? It's like, well, I had that, my mom had it, my
Yep.
grandmother had it. It's just kind of the way it is.
Yes.
And they, I guess, somewhat settle
Yeah.
for just that being their situation.
We say a lot, common does not mean normal. But the problem
Mhm.
is we aren't taught what's normal. We're taught what's common. So if it's common in your family to have very heavy periods and severe cramps, it becomes normalized, because if you ask your mom, your aunties, your cousins, your older sister, and they're like, yeah, we all get that.
Right,
You don't know that they're normally, you shouldn't,
right.
because in your family, in your household, at your family reunions, like everyone's got it. So it's like, suck it up, buttercup. So I wish, and this is what got me really into education, is that I wish
Mhm,
we were taught what's normal or expected, as opposed to what's become common
mhm, mhm.
and
Yeah,
and downplayed, quite honestly. I mean, the number of women, like, let's take endometriosis. Endometriosis pain can be absolutely 10 out of 10 severe, but it becomes commonized, as in,
mhm,
like, oh yeah, it's women get cramps, good luck.
right.
Women get cramps. Just take ibuprofen or whatever, and just, oh, it runs in your family. That's to be expected. Or try the birth control pill. Let's do that. And it can take years for somebody to finally get diagnosed with endometriosis and then do
Mhm.
something more proactive about it. Because the idea of cramps in females is like, yeah, girls get cramps. And I'm like, whoa, sure, yes, but like, do not blow it off. Do not blow
Right,
it off.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in your story, when you're kind of looking back at some of the changes that you made that were helpful to reduce your cramping, to, keep you from getting those migraines or maybe make them less severe, what kinds of things were you able to implement for yourself?
Yes, many things, lots of things. And I say this for those who are listening, if they're just starting their journey. I'm well into my journey. I'm
Hmm.
near the middle to the end of the book, as
Yeah.
opposed to if you're just flipping open the first page.
Hmm.
So, all the things I've done have done over many, many years and through a variety of budgets. And I say this because, like, for
Yes.
example, like 2 years ago, I want to say, my husband and I needed a new mattress, and we spent the money and got an organic, all the buzzwords type of mattress, instead of just
Hmm.
a conventional mattress, to avoid the off gassing and to avoid, all these things, the chemicals that they put in mattresses. And I had a lot of people write me and go, oh, I don't have the budget for a new mattress right now.
Right.
And I was like, 100%, I'm in my 40s. Like,
Yeah.
I did not buy a new mattress that's green and clean and doesn't off gas in my 20s. I bought it in my 40s. And so all the things I've done, a lot have involved like what I choose to eat, the like
Hmm.
diet. I had undiagnosed celiac disease. Celiac is when you have an autoimmune allergy against wheat products,
Hmm.
gluten particularly. I lived for years with that and didn't realize it. So once I gave up gluten, that was a massive game changer for me. I also, as a result, don't eat a lot of dairy products, so cheese and milk and yogurt and ice cream. I have found now I can tolerate them way better than I ever have. I think because I'm so much healthier and have done so
Right.
many things. So if I have gluten-free pizza, I'm fine. If I choose to have real ice cream, like, it's not a big deal, but I don't do it very often. But I've done things like clean up my skincare, like the skincare
Mm.
products, my dish detergent, what I clean my house with. I used to have super yummy smelling candles all over my house that
Yes.
were totally off gassing and fragrance. I've gotten rid of all of that, because that fragrance, that off gas stuff, acts like estrogen. It's estrogen mimicking. And I was
Mm,
already an estrogen heavy person. And so I
right.
needed to reduce that impact. I've always been
And
an exerciser. Oh, go ahead.
is that what's meant by endocrine disrupting? It's
Yes.
a hormone
Yes.
disrupting. Okay.
Yeah. So our hormones are part of our system called an endocrine system. So we have like
Hmm.
our heart system, right, which is, this cardiovascular, our bone system, which is musculoskeletal, our nerve and brain, which is neurological, and then our hormones are called endocrine. So endocrine disrupting chemicals are chemicals that disrupt your hormones. And we
Hmm.
already have enough issues with our hormones. So we don't
Yeah.
need to we don't need to
Don't need
disrupt
any
them
more help with that.
anymore. So I took a lot of these from a nutrition, from an exercise, from a reading labels, to counseling, to like supplements, like figuring out what I was deficient in certain,
Mhm.
supplements, um, the alcohol intake, like all these things through the years. I was like, oh, well, doesn't this have an impact on me?
Yeah.
And then through the years, I have, gotten just progressively better. Now, I still get migraines sometimes, as an example. I do. Last month is a classic example. Last month, the company that I work for had a company offsite in Mexico. So
Hmm.
75 of us, 50 of us went to Mexico, which was wonderful,
Wow.
fantastic. I feel very blessed and grateful. But when you're in Mexico, you can't control all the things. And about half of us got sick.
Mm.
So, from the food, from the water, I don't know what it was. And so I had spent 6 hours in the bathroom, and then I had to fly home. I'd crossed time zones. So then I had to fly home, and it'd been already a busy week because it's a company offsite. So it was jam
Right.
packed. So jam packed, cross time zones, sick, food poisoning or whatever, water poisoning. And then came home, and I was like 2 days before my period. And I'm like, here it comes.
All the things.
All right,
All the
all
things.
the things. And I was like, and sure enough, man, I got a migraine, and I knew it. And I tried so hard to try to counterbalance.
Hmm.
But it was just the dominoes had fallen, and my system was oversaturated, and the migraine came.
Hmm.
But other months when I'm pretty good, I'm human. So pretty good on the diet, the exercise, the sleep, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't get migraines, but
Yeah.
I knew I'd either on purpose or accidentally done all the things. And my hormone system was like, ha, you get a migraine. And
Yeah.
so, you don't have to go to Mexico to, but people will tell me like, oh my gosh, this month I had deadlines, or the kids did this, or,
Hmm.
everybody in the household got sick. And then, and they're like, oh, my PMS was so bad. I'm like, I know
Yeah.
we're the canary in the coal mines when this happens. It's the alert system
Exactly.
that's like, you're done.
Telling you something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I love what you're saying about your health journey being this long span,
Mhm.
and the things that you've implemented have been all of these different lifestyle and behavior changes. So it isn't this quick fix,
Yeah.
magic pill, one size fits all type thing,
Mhm.
but it's okay. This is Carrie. This is what's going on with her body right now. This is what she can change right now in this
Yeah.
season of life, and that will help. And then she adds a new thing, and then she tries something else, and so forth. So I think that's really great for people to hear,
Yeah.
and understand that it takes time,
Yep.
and it takes some patience. Maybe it takes a little trial and error,
Mhm.
to figure out what really is going to work.
And it changes in our decades too. When I was in practice in my 30s, young 30s especially, patients would say to me, "You just wait. You just wait till you turn 45, and this is going to happen. You won't be able to tolerate alcohol anymore. You won't
Mhm.
sleep as well as you used to." Just very. And I was like, please. They were right. Sure enough. I mean, I don't drink that much, but my best friend got married last weekend, and I would glass of champagne to celebrate, and
Right.
I slept terribly. Like it was just,
Yeah.
I felt one glass of champagne, and I thought, oh, all those patients are right. Our enzymes, our processes, our like how we get from A to B in our body, it all changes
Mhm.
through the decades. And so somebody listening to this in their 20s, you have youth on your side. I mean, it's really working for you.
Use
And then
it. Use that
use
youth.
it. Yeah. Don't abuse it, but use it. But somebody listening to this in like their fourth or fifth decade is probably like, amen. Like, absolutely. That's how I feel right now. I used to, and now I can't. I used to stay up past 10. Now I get excited to be in bed at 9, just because I
Yes,
know
ma'am.
how sleep is for me. And that's the other thing I tell people is, you may have found a way or a protocol or a lifestyle that works for you in your 20s, and then you
Mhm.
transition into your 30s and you're like, oh, this isn't working anymore. Or you're in your 30s transitioning into your 40s or 50s or beyond, and you're like, this isn't working for me anymore. And it's not that you're doing anything wrong. You're not. It's just your body is shifting and you just have to shift with it.
Yeah. And that's so important to listen to
Mhm.
your body, and address what's going on. It's like, well, maybe it could be a temporary thing. And as you kind of go through your days or weeks or months, you recognize, oh, wait, this isn't changing,
Mhm.
and do something about it. I think sometimes we get into this, well, this is my thing.
Yeah.
This is the way that I've been doing things and it's been working. Well, but that was 15 years ago. You've been exposed to different things. You may be in a different job, in different relationships, handling stress differently, sleep differently, whatever is going on.
Yeah.
And so listening to your body while it's quietly talking to you, and do something about it now before it starts screaming at you that we really need a change.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. I agree with you.
Yeah. So, kind of looking at today, and how you feel kind of on a daily basis versus before maybe your diagnosis of celiac, or before you really started consistently implementing change. How would you say how you feel differs
Mm.
now from then?
One of my best friends who lives in Phoenix, Arizona, he always calls me Cinderella. He is not a morning person at all in the slightest. But we've traveled enough together, and like I stayed with him, he stayed with me, and so all the time he's like, "You were like Cinderella. In the morning, the little birds fly around your head. You're like the happiest person," and I feel very grateful for that. I
Hmm.
know something's off with me when I'm not. If I don't wake up happy, or if I wake up really tired or in a mood, then I know something is off. And so
Right.
now I am really lucky. Like I said, I'm in my 40s, I'm 45. And so I feel really lucky. Um, like my energy, all the things, all the boxes are good.
Hmm.
Are they all great? No. And do I have bad days? 100%. But like my energy, my sleep, my relationships, my digestion, like all the things that I kind of run through are really pretty good. And I also am proud of myself because I work really hard at it.
Hmm.
But I'm also 45 and I've been working on this. I started in functional medicine when I was 22 years old. That's when I
Wow.
started in the community. I started
Hmm.
medical school when I was 24 years old. So, but I was already working for in naturopathic medicine at 22 years old. So I've had from 22 years old to 45 years old, which is a really long span, which is what your point was earlier, that somebody listening to this might be 45 and think, oh, but I feel terrible.
Right.
I've had all these things, or I have autoimmune, or I have a lot of life issues. And I'm like, remember, we're in two separate chapters of the book.
Hmm.
I have had this knowledge and education since I was 22 years old
Yeah.
that I've been working with. But it also goes to show that it works.
Yes.
It works, and the baby steps count, and the little micro adjustments that you make in your life do count. And I hear this from my patients, even patients with cancer or multiple sclerosis, or the diagnosed with like early dementia. It's
Hmm.
it's our little micro decisions every day that do make a difference into turning the cruise ship around and hopefully helping get us back on a better path and get us feeling better, etc.
Yeah.
So how I feel now, and like I say this to my husband all the time, I'm like, I'm really grateful for how I feel, which is really pretty great, really pretty good, depends on the day. But I also work really hard at it. I like really hard
Absolutely.
at it. My husband always just says, he's like, you're one of the most disciplined people I know. But my family genetically lives a very long time into their 90s. And so I'm
Hmm.
like, I'll probably,
Right.
barring catastrophic events, chances are I'll live into my 90s, and I want to be the one who's mobile and has the
Yes.
strength and feels good and my mind is there. So I've chosen to start years ago, knowing,
Yeah.
watching my grandparents live into their 90s. I was like, ooh, all right, let's do it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Something that is really, it seems like this has been a pattern so far. I keep hearing you talk about is the consistency
Yeah.
that it takes in order to get yourself to this point. Again, it's not that one thing that's going to do it. It's like one day I exercise and, oh, feel good, check off the boxes, it's amazing. It's like, no, I have to consistently exercise, 5 or 6 days a week, and I have to make my choices on nutrition. So there's got to be that consistency, and you have to be intentional
Yeah.
about it. It's like, well, maybe I can't start everywhere in every place, but I can start somewhere.
Yeah.
And being intentional about that choice of where you start, being consistent with that choice of keeping that going definitely will propel you forward. And I think, the tiny things you talked about, the micro changes,
Mhm.
those also, are things that people maybe overlook. It's like, I celebrated when I, dropped 30 pounds. And it's like, well, you can celebrate the fact that you made a better food choice
Yeah.
today than you did yesterday. That is something to celebrate. You can celebrate that you took that walk after dinner,
Yeah.
instead of just sitting on the couch. So I think all of those things are very, very important. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this, hearing all of the different things that you've shared so far. So kind of as we wrap up our time together, what would you say to the woman out there who is um, overwhelmed,
Mhm.
who maybe is thinking, I really, something needs to happen. I need to make the change. I don't know where to start, or I don't know what to do. What would you say to that woman if she says, is this really that big of a deal?
Well, like, honestly, so when I had patients that would say that, I would be like, well, what is your goal? What is your goal in life? Is your goal about weight? Is your goal about energy? Is your goal about what we call longevity? You also know you're going to live a long time because your grandparents have lived a long time and you want to stay healthy and mobile for
Mhm.
grandkids, etc. You want to be able to travel the world and be able to, lift your suitcase up into the overhead bin on your own and
Mhm.
not have the strength to do it. So figuring out, like, okay, first and foremost, what's your immediate goal for the next couple weeks or months? And then, like, what's your very long-term goal? And then I would say, okay, if we're overwhelmed, sometimes the overwhelm is budget. Sometimes people
Mm.
hear me talk or other practitioners talk and they'll go, well, they're lucky because they had the budget, like the bed that I bought. Like, well, you're,
Right.
you're lucky you had the budget for that. I'm like, but again, started in my 40s. I didn't buy the bed in my 30s or my 20s. Like, I had to wait until it fit into the budget in our 40s. So one of the things that I usually say is start with the lowest hanging fruit. If you have
Mm.
candles all over your house, if you have the air freshener stuff in your car, or if you have the plugins in your house, maybe get rid of them. That's not going to cost you anything. Now, you probably bought
Right.
them. So, but get rid of that scented stuff and then, like, start to clean house. And as
Hmm.
you run out of things, as you run out of deodorant, as you run out of dish detergent or soap or lotion or whatever it is, replace it at that time with something that's greener and cleaner and
Hmm.
better for your body. Doesn't mean to do it now, but if you're going to spend the money on it anyway, then just wait
Right.
till you run out of it and then make the switch. And so by process of elimination, it's actually less stressful for a lot of people and easier on the budget because they're going to buy it anyway. They're just going to
Hmm.
make a different choice and then move from there. So once you've feel more comfortable, more confident, better, then really nutrition is a big one. So as some people say, like, what do you have on the end of your fork, and making sure choices you make, are they probably in your favor or not in your favor? And
Hmm.
one of the easiest questions is, are there foods that you eat that make you feel crappy? Like, do they make you
Mm.
feel tired? Do they make you feel bloated? Do they give you
Yeah.
heartburn? like maybe initially cut those foods back or out. And it could be alcohol, right? You might be listening to this thinking, but I love my 2 glasses of wine a night. Like, but is it like, how much is that serving you? Like, is it helping your sleep? How do you feel when you wake up? How is your energy? How is your skin, et
Yeah.
cetera, the next day? But same thing, if somebody's listening to this going, "Ugh, but I love cheese, but every time I eat it, I get
Yeah.
diarrhea, or I get really tired, or it makes me break out, but I can't give it up." Like, really examine that. Because if you
Hmm.
could eliminate cheese, as an example, or eliminate the one food that is probably really pizza. Lots of people are like, oh my gosh, pizza kills me, but I love it. Like, are you sure you're doing your body good by doing that?
Right.
So again, and it's maybe from a mental emotional, it's hard to get rid of it because you love that food. But from like a budgetary point of view, or a minimizing overwhelm point of view, already instinctively you should eliminate that food for the time
Yeah.
being, until
Yeah.
till you're further down the process. And so process of elimination for more people seems to be easier than
Mhm.
adding in, because that often requires, maybe doesn't fit in the budget, or is overwhelming because you feel like, oh my gosh, now I'm taking all these supplements, or I'm doing all these things. So if you're brand new, I'm like, process of elimination, get rid of the fragrance, get rid of the air freshener stuff, replace as you run out of it. Don't feel like you have to throw everything out in your cupboards right now. Just,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, as you run out, then you're going to spend the
Right.
money anyway, just replace it and then work from there. And what I found over the years is that um, it's also okay to know it's a slow process. And,
Mhm.
just because your friend or somebody you follow on social media seems further along in the process, they're not. They're just, it's just different.
Yeah.
And if that's your goal, you'll get there too. And so
Yeah.
by slowly ticking the dominoes, eventually it gets easier, better, and faster. And then you just find naturally over a couple months, the decisions you're making are much more conscious around hormones or health or longevity or whatever you want to say. And
Yeah.
it definitely becomes easier.
Yeah. That's great. I'm very much a practical person. I like simple, I like digestible steps.
Mhm.
And the idea of starting with that kind of budget friendly,
Mhm.
because free is in everybody's price range, right?
Right.
So, but starting with that budget friendly thing of, okay, what right now can you just go ahead and get rid of, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then as you slowly run out of things, whether that be, you run out of rice and you're like, okay, but rice is a staple in our home. Well, maybe you've run out of that regular, very GMO processed, non-organic
Braid
rice.
rice. Yeah.
Then you replace it with a higher quality, non-GMO organic rice. That grocery trip, and then
Yeah.
maybe the next grocery trip you look at something else that you're running low on. And all of I love that you include the body care stuff.
Mhm.
I think so many times we talk about nutrition and exercise, which both of those certainly are very important, but all of the things that we
Yeah.
put on our bodies from head to toe, whether that be our hair products or our nail polish or lotion, shampoos, all the things, those types of things too
Mhm.
really make a difference in our health. And
Yeah.
when we do remove the poor quality and add in the high quality things, or maybe remove the poor quality and don't add anything back,
Yeah.
it really does benefit us. So if
Yeah.
we can do that in a very kind of slow and methodical way, that it's like, okay, that is a lot less overwhelming,
Mhm.
for that mama who's driving her 3 kids around, taking them to soccer and football and all the things, right? So yeah, that's great, great, great
Yeah.
practical advice. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's even
So
things like perfume. I know a lot of women, myself included, like I like smell good stuff. And some people, especially if they were in the office every day or out every
mhm,
day, that they would use perfume every day. And I'm like, okay, I get it. It's your favorite scent, but maybe save that for special occasions or Friday night and use something more natural, essential
mhm,
oils or something in the week. So you're not getting that synthetic fragrance, which is an endocrine disruptor.
right.
Alcohol. I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, you like alcohol, you like to unwind with alcohol, but maybe like Monday through Thursday, where you used to have a glass of wine, just Because sometimes I have had patients, the act of like carrying a glass or a wine glass or something, like they like
Yeah.
it, like it feels good. And it's like, it's Pavlov's dog. They're like, oh, when I pick up my wine
Right.
glass, I immediately feel less stress. I'm like, well, then put something else in your wine glass. Put
Yeah.
sparkling water in your wine glass. I know
Yeah.
it's not wine, but like you will get the sensation of holding the wine glass if it's
Mhm.
active.
Yeah.
Or, make a mocktail, which so no alcohol, and with the ice and the garnishes, and if you feel fancy, in your tumbler, and just carry that around it when you're at home and feeling the need to relax, and just
Mhm.
save alcohol for like these little changes add up over time. And I've seen it. I mean, like I said, I worked for almost 10 years for this hormone company. I've seen thousands of hormone result tests. So I've seen lots of before and afters. I've had lots of people say, women in particular, no, I don't drink that much. Well, how much do you drink? Well, I drink 1 or 2 glasses of wine a day, or most days of the week, which technically by
Yeah.
alcohol law is not considered drinking too much. But when
Right.
you're a hormone doctor and you see hormone tests all day long,
You're
your
like,
liver doesn't
no, no,
like it.
no, girl.
your estrogen's pissed. And so I'm telling you, these little changes and I've had so many patients just say to me, wow, first of all, I didn't really realize how much I was drinking. And second of all, I cut down, I only drank Friday and Saturday instead of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and made a big difference. Like my
Mhm.
energy was better, my skin was clear, my brain was clear, my hormones, I was having less hot flushes and night sweats, etc. Had no idea. Didn't put 2 and 2
Yeah.
together. I thought I was de-stressing, and it turns out I was making myself worse.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. Well, gosh, thank you so much for sharing your personal journey, but also your doctorate naturopathy expertise.
Yes.
I so appreciate you sharing with me and the rest of the world. If people want to be able to find you, follow you, know more about what you're doing these days, where can they go?
Instagram is the one place I see you all the time on Instagram. So
Yeah.
I'm at dr.carriejones on Instagram. I do have a website. In fact, I have a brand new website that's coming out probably by the end of very soon.
Oh, yay.
By the time this is out, it'll probably be up, but it's drcarriejones.com,
Hmm.
which will have a lot more information. And then I do work for a company called Rupa Health. So if
Hmm.
you are a practitioner, you can check out all the things that Rupa Health has to offer at rupahealth.com.
Yeah, awesome. I love following you. I love seeing your posts and your reels just crack me up. I love all the ovulation ovary
Yes. Yes.
reels. They are so funny. So
Yes.
check her out, guys. Follow Dr. Carrie and be looking for her new website here soon. And thank you all for joining us today on Coach Chrysler's Combos. We will see you next time. Bye.